Beauty friends, it's Meredith Roddy from Beadalon. Welcome to the Michaels Community Classroom. Thank you so much for joining me today. I see some familiar names coming through on the chat for those of you who are watching live. But if you are watching on the replay, welcome as well. And you know that on the Michaels YouTube channel is where you can find all of the community classroom classes past and I guess just past. We're live in the present, and then you can find out what's coming up in the future when you go to the Michaels website and scroll through and check out to where the classes are. I know that I am always signed up for a class in the Michaels Community Classroom. They have things for everything that you could possibly even have a minor interest in. And they're really good classes. I'm really impressed with the whole program. And yes, hello and happy New Year. Is this is not my first Michaels class of 2022, is it? Is it? No. I've done one already. You guys have me confused there for a second. So today what we are going to be doing is we are going to be making an adjustable bracelet. It is one of my absolute all-time favorite techniques. And you can see if you've taken many of my classes before, you'll see these two bracelets that I wear almost all the time are done in a slightly different technique, but still the same clasp design. And one of the reasons why I do this is because I always say that wrist size is not indicative of person size. So some people have large wrists and some people have small wrists. And sometimes you don't know if you are, for example, gifting a bracelet for someone, or if you just have some trouble sometimes putting a bracelet on and taking it off. This is a great technique to be able to create a one-size-fits-all bracelet that is also easy to take on and off. So let me just show you really quickly with the one that I have on now. To take it off, all you need to do is pull and slip it off, right? And I'll show that when we take the overhead camera as well. But what I like to do is I hold underneath, you can see what I'm doing, my middle finger here and just pull to tighten it up. And then depending on your personal preference, you may or may not like these little dangle-doos coming off here. In the beginning, I didn't like them that much, but now I'm kind of obsessed with having lots and lots of dangle-doos, and you can do a lot to adorn those as well. For example, over on these ones, I have some beads that give it a little bit of weight and also a little bit of extra sparkle, because don't we always want a little bit of extra sparkle? So we've got a great crowd in here today. Let's see, a little bit of housekeeping right off the bat. Again, just to introduce myself, I'm Meredith Roddy. I work at Beadalon. We are one of Michael's vendors, and we are the ones who make the beading wire. We actually manufacture the beading wire in our factory in Pennsylvania, southeastern Pennsylvania. I'm very proud of that fact. And you'll find many of our products in Michaels and lots of our projects and past videos in the Michaels on the Michaels YouTube channel. Just a reminder for everyone, if you do make this project or any other Beadalon project, make sure on your socials you do a hashtag make it with Michaels and also hashtag Beadalon, because I love seeing what people make. And a heartfelt thank you to those of you who post after class what you've made. It really it brightens my day. Really from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. It's just putting a little bit of positivity out into the universe, and it comes down and sits on my shoulders and makes me smile for the rest of the day. So I really appreciate it. All right, so we went over all of the things that we need to do. I think it's time to take that overhead camera and start talking about this project that we've got going on today. So let's see, down here on the beading mat, I've got a good amount of supplies. A little different, perhaps, than some of the supplies that we've used in past classes, but nonetheless a great project. So let me just show a close-up. Actually, I have one off. I made a little teeny tiny one. This is actually even too small for me to get over my wrist. But you can see by varying the beads how different of an effect you can get for this bracelet. So here they are, little teeny tiny 3mm crystal rondelles. Here I have some gemstones. If you've taken classes with me before, you recognize these for sure. I love these jasper gemstones. And then I have some 6mm gemstones, and you can go bigger, you can go smaller, you can vary different things. We're going to learn the technique, like I like to teach in many classes. And then as we're going along, I will also talk about different things that you can do. So in the comments, as we're getting started and scrolling by, let me know if you have any questions for those of you who are watching live with me today. And Yvette from Beadalon is monitoring the chat, so she will be happy to hopefully help answer any questions. And if there's something that she needs to interrupt me for, she'll go ahead and give me a little virtual tap so that I can make sure that I am on top of everything. But you might recognize this tool. Sarah Lovecraft uses this a lot in her project. This is the Beadalon tying station. It's one of my favorite tools that Beadalon carries, not the least of which why is that I helped develop this tool. So I'm really, really proud of it. I love making friendship bracelets. I love making macrame bracelets, doing all kinds of knotted designs. And when I came to Beadalon, we were thinking of a way to make that a little bit easier to accomplish rather than, you know, a safety pin to your jeans. How many of us have done that technique, right? Or using a clipboard, which is a great technique as well. But we wanted to create a tool that made it just a little bit more accessible, a little bit easier. So that's where the tying station came from. So a couple things about the tying station, and we'll talk about this a little bit more as we go along. We have a plate here and a plate here. We've got some wing nuts that loosen and tighten up, and a ruler along one side, which proves very helpful for me when I'm measuring out my designs. I tend to grab for it a lot more than I might necessarily have thought I would, but it's always good to have a measuring device or a ruler nice and close by. The other thing I really like about this is the cutout in the middle, because it makes it easy to grab and to have your design accessible from more sides. So this is what we're going to be using for our base today. If you don't have a tying station, totally cool. You just need a way to secure the top and the bottom of your design. So a clipboard, some binder clips, some safety pins, maybe some tape, lots of different ways to jerry rig a tying station. But if you have a tying station, you're going to be glad that you do. So that is going to be our big tool that we're going to be using today. The next thing that we're going to need are some scissors, of course. Another really helpful tool to have is a cord cutter. Especially when we are using the stringing material that we are using today, the B-Lon. B-Lon is a Text 210 nylon cord, and the cord cutter is a really good way of cutting and sealing the ends, especially when we get to these macrame knots right here. You can do it with a lighter, very carefully. You can also use scissors and then a little dab of glue, but the cord cutter is the way to go. The WildFire cord cutter actually is not found in Michaels, but they do have a cord cutter that works exactly the same way. So if you have this one or another one that you found in Michaels, you'll be in great shape. Okay, so we talked about Beadalon. We talked about the cord cutter. The next material that we are going to need for our project is WildFire. Now, you know me, you know that WildFire is my stringing material of choice when I am doing anything involving seed beads, bead weaving, stitching, any sort of bead stitching, loom work. It is a thermally bonded bead weaving thread. It is incredibly strong. It doesn't stretch. It's waterproof, and it is very, very difficult to pierce with a needle. This stuff is great. I've been doing a lot of kind of getting back to my roots of seed beading over the past couple of weeks, and I've been using WildFire, and every time I use it, I remember how much I love it. So this is the stringing material that we're going to be using today. You're also going to need some needles. So in the instructions, I call for big eye beading needles. I also recommend using collapsible eye needles. And I'm going to show how each of those works when I get to the project. Another helpful tool that a tool that is helpful but not necessary is the Beadalon knotter tool. It's a tool that's available in Michaels. It's the knotter tool. Its primary purpose is for making knotted necklaces, like knotting pearls, knotting gemstones. But since we are going to be doing some knots here at the end, the Beadalon knotter tool is the one that I reach for to do that. You can see I always put my name on my tools so that they don't walk away when I'm in the office. You can also use an awl for this, or if you have tweezers or maybe even a pencil, definitely different ways of achieving this end. But again, I've got a knotter tool. That's what I'm going to be using. All right, I think I've gone over all of our materials. We're ready to get started. Not bad. All right, so let me, oh, and of course, last but not least, how could I forget the beads, right? So I have these beads. What I have done from all of my past Michaels projects is I've started putting the beads that I have left over into these tins. If you haven't found these storage tins at Michaels, I highly recommend them. They're perfect for leftover beads. That's really all there is to it. And so then I always can see them when I need to grab a couple of beads for a project. And the great thing about this project is it's a good stash buster, right? We're always looking for projects to use up our leftover beads. And in fact, we just submitted, we will be submitting today and tomorrow, another really great project using up our leftover beads, our bead soup, or any of those kind of remnants from different projects. Put them together and make some good friends. So you'll see these beads are kind of this 6mm size because it's always more difficult for students to see what I'm doing if I'm using really small beads, right? But I definitely recommend and encourage you to try all different kinds, shapes, sizes, whatever of beads. So I have open just the gray color of the B-Lon cord. And so that's what I'm going to be using today for the project. And the first thing I need to do is to cut a 26-inch length. So I'm going to measure out on my measuring device here. So here we've got 20, or I'm sorry, we have 10. Now we have 20. And then I'm going to measure 6. And this is kind of hey, what is the word I'm looking for? A non-precise measurement. If you have it a couple inches longer, that's great. I wouldn't recommend going any shorter, but definitely a little bit longer is totally fine, especially if you have a wrist that's a little larger. So for me, for my 6 3/4 inch wrist, these measurements work perfectly. But the great thing is if your wrist is a little bit longer, add a couple of inches, right? Easy enough to modify. All right, so when I am working with the tying station, I actually like to put my beading tray vertically rather than horizontally. I'm going to bop my camera up just a little bit while I'm getting everything all set before we move in. And just a little bit about B-Lon as we're getting started. So it's a texture 10 nylon cord, which means it is a very strong, it's a very strong cord, but it is still a cord. So if you have beads like lampwork beads, for example, or gemstone beads that might have rough insides, you want to be careful that those insides aren't going to cut that cord. Okay, because it's nylon, right? So if you think about what else is made of nylon, think about like a Nymo or any sort of cord. It is strong, but it also can very easily get cut with a sharp edge. We recommend this for micro macrame, which is pretty much what we're doing today. I'm looking at trying to read it in French. That's not going to work for today. Bead crochet, which is the project that we're going to be doing in March, and kumihimo, which I should put some kumihimo on the docket. I haven't done a kumihimo class for Michaels, and I've been doing a lot of that recently. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so I have my Beadalon. I cut it in 26. I cut a piece 26 inches, and I'm folding it in half. And what I'm going to do is, let's come up here so you can see this is the top, and I'm going to loosen my wing nut. I don't need to take it off because all I'm doing is I'm going to put that loop evenly over the screw. So I'm going to take it off so you can actually see what's happening in here, but you do not have to do this if you have a tying station. All I'm doing is I'm securing this. Okay, so there's the screw here, and my thread is coming around the screw in between the two plates. So you can say, obviously, you don't need to take this off, but I wanted to show everybody what was happening. And you also don't have to tighten this up all the way, because all this is doing is holding this in place. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to bop this back up again. And that's not a very straight angle. Let's straighten that out a little bit and move this up. It's one of the big challenges that I always have in doing a project with the tying station, is because it's so long and I want to get close, right? So that everybody can see. But so we're just going to kind of we'll be moving our camera around a lot. So hopefully I'll do it smooth enough that we don't get any dizziness. So now what I'm doing here is that same thing. I am loosening this up. Let's move this down. Like that. Loosening up this base plate, and I'm pulling one end on one side and one end on the other side to the middle. And this one I do want to tighten up. So I'm just going to kind of hold everything with my fingers, tighten this all up, make sure, and it doesn't have to be like dual loom or loom tight. You just want it to be secure. All right, so let's move that up a little bit. And now the next thing that I want to do is I want to grab some of the WildFire, and I'm going to pull out a 2-foot length. So usually whenever I work with WildFire, you'll hear me talk about a wingspan, right? Arm to arm is what I usually pull out. But for the short amount that I'm doing, you actually don't need a full wingspan, but just to be on the safe side, force of habit, I'm just going to pull out a whole wingspan to work with today. And the thing about WildFire also, because it's so strong and because it's a bonded monofilament, the way that you want to cut this stuff, you don't want to cut it in the tips of your scissors like this. You can get away with that sometimes with other materials. You want to take it all the way in the back of your scissors. I don't know if I just want to make sure everybody can see what I'm doing. All the way in the back of your scissors, and give it kind of a little squeeze and a pull. And then that will get you a really nice cut. Otherwise, you're going to fray the end of it because it's really, really strong stuff. Okay, so this too, I'm going to double. So, or I guess fold in half is a better way of saying it. Underneath the 2 pieces of Beadalon. I should have practiced this a little bit with how I'm going to do my hands and the camera, but we'll get it all to work. And I'm going to tie an overhand knot. This is going to be the start of our macrame. Now, if you don't have WildFire, if you have another cord, or if you wanted to do this part with Beadalon, that would work also. There are tons of different materials that you can use with the tying station to knot. You can use, gosh, what else can you use? Really so many different things. I've done this technique with beading wire that you can knot. And there is, if there's a material that you can knot and you can put it through your beads, you'll be in good shape. Now, keep in mind that this class will be is being recorded and will be available in about 48 hours on the Michaels YouTube channel. So if there's something that I've done a little bit too fast or something that you didn't quite get, you can always go back and watch it over and over again as much as you want. So I mentioned in the beginning the ability or the opportunity. You can use either a collapsible eye needle, a big eye beading needle. You could use a regular beading needle, but I just learned and realized that in all of the time that I've been teaching classes and recommending size 10 or size 12 beading needles, and people struggle, right? Threading a needle can be kind of tough. And I don't want anybody to not do a project because they don't want to have to struggle with stringing or with threading a needle. That's what I'm looking for. So these big eye beading needles, you can see the whole length of the needle is open. And you saw, because of my nails, I can't get in there with my nails because I have the powder dip on. But if I just had regular fingernails, I'd be able to open this with my nails. But for anyone who has, acrylic or gel or polish or whatever on your nails, you can just pull this open with your chain nose pliers. And you can see how much easier this is to thread than a traditional beading needle. Okay. And these guys, if you're not familiar with them, these work for bead weaving, for loom work, for stringing, for any bead weaving, anything you need. These are really good for that. Another needle that I really like using, and both of these are available in Michaels, the packaging for this one is a little bit different, is a collapsible eye needle. And you can see, where's my backing? You can see how big that eye is. That is another way that you can get around the challenge of having to thread a needle, because you can see how big that space is. I just pull that through and then it locks in the back of that loop. So 2 different needles, and I'm going to use both of them mostly, and I'll let you know why, because I have so many projects out on trays. I have some upstairs, I have some over on the other side of my studio, and all of my needles are being used right now. So I needed to go with a different kind, but it's also a good way of showing that indeed you can use both. All right, so we have put our needles on, and the one thing that I didn't do before I put my needles on is just to tie a quick macrame knot, right over left, left over right. So what I'm going to do is actually take my needles off to be able to do that. I could do them with the needles on, but my life is going to be easier if I do them with the needles off. Okay, so I have tied an overhand knot, and I've brought this down almost to the 5 mark here, because what we need, where did my example go? What we're doing is we are creating this ladder stitched section in between space up here and space down here. So we want to make sure that we have enough space up here at the top so that we have enough room here for this section. Okay, hopefully everybody is still with me. It'll become very obvious in like 2 minutes. All right, back up here. So square knot, very easy, right? Traditional macrame knot. We make a loop over here on top of the 2 threads. We bring the bottom underneath and through and pull tight. And literally all I'm doing is I'm just securing my thread. We can do it once, we can do it twice. You want to make sure that you do your knots on the opposite sides. If this knot is tripping you up, don't worry about it. like I said, all we're doing is securing the thread here. So 2 overhand knots, if you're more comfortable with that, totally fine. Okay, so now let me go back and put those needles on so you can see how unstruggly it is. And yeah, I've been using the big eye needles a lot more recently, especially later at night. I feel like as the day goes on, my eyesight gets worse. So by the time my eyes are really tired at night, but that's the time that I like to sit down and do my beading, a big eye beading needle is a really great alternative to struggling to get my needles threaded. Okay, so what I need to do is take my working threads and I want to take them in through the middle of my resting threads. So let's talk about, let's put some names to things. These are my resting threads here. The B-Lon is my resting thread. Okay, it's resting thread because it's resting, it's hanging out, it's not doing anything until the very end. So that is my resting thread here. And I saw Yvette posted the instructions. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube after the fact, they are posted below. And in the instruction sheet, I mentioned the resting threads. And then these guys, the WildFire, these are the working threads because we are working with them. Pretty easy, right? So I'm going to take both of my needles and I'm going to go through the middle of these resting threads. Okay, so let me come down nice and close. We're going to have a big challenge here of making sure everybody can see and that I'm not hitting the camera too much. So apologies in advance because I know that I'm going to be hitting the camera a lot, but it's a small price to pay to be able to actually see what's going on. So now what I want to do is I want to pick up a bead. And again, this can be like I'm using a 6mm round. It can be a 3mm rondelle, like in my example over here. It could be a size 6 seed bead. Anything that you want to highlight in this bracelet will work as long as both of your needles will fit through the holes of your beads. And the great thing about Michael's beads, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, is they generally have nice big holes. So it's not too big of a struggle to get two pieces of thread through them. So I have my bead strung on my needle. And what I'm going to do is the other needle, I'm going to come back through the other way. Okay, this is one of those things that when you break it down and explain it, it's like, sounds complicated, but it's really not complicated at all. So stay with me. I've got one on. I'm just going to move the needle out of the way and I'm going to come back through the other side of that bead with the needle. And I'm going to tighten everything up. Okay, now if you don't come around and through the center, it's just not going to sit right. I don't know how else I can say that. It's just not going to sit right. And you'll know if you forgot that step and you're like, oh, wait, this isn't sitting right. Go back and remember that you want to make sure that every time you start, you reposition those needles through the center. Okay, so through the center. And really all we're doing is a ladder stitch with our beads. So once again, I'm going to thread one bead on, and you can alternate sides if you're feeling frisky. Start one on one side, one on the other side. It doesn't matter because every time you do it, you are going back through with both. I'm sorry, you're going back through both sides and tightening it up. And you saw in the beginning, I kind of locked that bead into place. It's not going to go where you want it to go in the very, it's going to want to pop down and be, you know, unruly. But by tugging on these, on the WildFire and kind of zhuzhing it gently into place, you should be fine. All right, I got to pull this up. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so now we're just going to keep doing that. So under to the middle, and you can, well, you can't see, but my WildFire is getting a little tangly here, and that'll happen. That's part of the reason why working with a smaller or a shorter thread for this project can be beneficial. Just want to be careful whenever I am doing any bead weaving or anything, really any beadwork, let's be fair. I tend to catch my thread on the pliers that I have next to me or on the scissors that I have on my beading thread. I don't know about you all, but I tend to, I don't know, I'm always catching things on the side of my work. I don't know if that is I don't know what that's a sign of. I think it's a sign of careless beading. So I'm going to try to keep my beading nice and careful while we're going along. All right, so, and I'm keeping a good tension. I'm not tightening it up so much that I hurt myself. You are not going to break the WildFire. The WildFire has a break strength of 12 pounds, I want to say. I don't think we have it on the packaging anymore. But the WildFire does not stretch, and it is very, very strong stuff. And so you want, you're not going to break it by pulling it tight, and you want to pull it tight enough so those beads pop into place and go where you want them to go. And we are just going to continue. And I thought about cooking show styling this project, but it's not a long project. I'm going to add probably, I don't know, maybe 12 beads. And you can see how quickly it goes. Let me show you one more time. So I'm putting one bead on one needle, and the other needle is coming through the other way and pulling it tight. Now you'll see also that with this technique, my tying station isn't going anywhere. I have it just laying here on my beading mat. Sometimes for some projects that I do, I like to put this on a tacky mat. There are different brands, different types, different sizes, different shapes of sticky mats that you can use to hold down the tying station. And like if we're especially actually when we are at beading shows or we're doing demos out in the field, it's a really good way of keeping it. Now you can see my I wasn't kind of paying close enough attention, and my thread just slipped out of my needle. But because it's a collapsible eye needle, all I need to do, if I can see what I'm doing, is, oh my gosh, okay, there we go. The important thing is see what I'm doing. I can just slip that right back in there and not worry about it. And I want to make sure, so this one is coming through the center. This one also, I want to make sure is going through the center. And a great comment just came through in the chat for the live class that this would be a great project to do with chakra beads. And yes, this would be a great project to do with chakra beads. And chakra beads are different colors of gemstones that represent different energies in your body. That's the easiest explanation for it. And you can get all different kinds of gemstones or colored glass beads at Michael's to make a bracelet like that, and it would be perfect. And you could do, is it 7 chakra? I think it's 7. Might be making that up. But however many it is, you can just do that many of the beads and call it your design. All right, things are getting a little twisted up here, and I need to reposition my camera as well. So like this, I want to go back up to the over. And one of the other things about WildFire that I like is whenever you're working with beading thread, there is a possibility of it getting tangled up, right? It's thread, it's small, it is fine thread. But I found that of all of the different beading threads, the WildFire tends to tangle a little bit less. And at least for me, I want to speak for everybody, but at least for me, I find that it is a little bit easier to untangle. Certainly easier to untangle than a nylon based thread. But again, sometimes it just takes a little bit of patience and a beading awl. Okay, so here we go. And back through the other way. And I'm going to do, I think maybe 2 more. And let's just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, 2 more. We'll do 12. 12 total for this bracelet. And I also really like the fact that not only is this a great technique for making adjustable bracelets, but it's a great way to stack bracelets, right? So I know I tend to do less stacked bracelets than you know, all the way up my arm. Like I know some people really like them, but it's a lightweight way that you don't have to have a whole lot of clasps, right? Because we don't have a clasp on this particular bracelet. So this is going to be my last one. So technique is the same the whole way around. And if you go back to the community classroom archives, have I done this technique? Either I or Sarah Lovecraft. There's definitely a tutorial on making this as a wrap bracelet. But the cool thing about the tying station, just incidentally, is it comes with this little foam expander plate so that you can actually, you're not just constrained to the amount of space on this tool. You can actually make a much larger and longer bracelet. And to answer another question, the B-Lon does come in colors. There are 3 that are on the wall in Michael's, and we have, I believe, 9 colors all together right now. Okay, so now I am done. I've done my 12 beads, and I am going to remove my needles. I don't need these needles here anymore. I don't want to run the risk of poking myself or others. So I'm just going to put my needles off. And I use these little magnets on my beading tray to hold my mat down, but they're also really great for holding my needles in place too. So little extra bonus tip for class today. Okay, so now what I want to do is those knots that I did in the very beginning to secure my thread, I want to do those right on the bottom as well. So I'm going to back this up a little bit. And again, square knot. So I'm making a loop over here. I'm coming in with the end of my thread, coming under everything, through that loop, and up. I always think that trying to explain the square knot is so much harder to do than actually just tying the square knot. So same thing on the other side, making the loop, taking my end, coming underneath here, through that loop, and pulling everything tight. And I'm going to do that twice. See how everything's cinched up there? So the first time I did that, it did not cinch together, right? And you were like, wait, that one isn't pulling together, Meredith. But when I did that second knot, everything cinched together really nicely. Okay. And I'm going to endeavor to do this close. Let's see. I'm going to make my loop here. Just a little bit. And I'm going to come around and through that loop. Do the loop like that. And I'm laughing because I'm trying so hard not to hit the camera. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do that loop on the other side. And you can see I've got plenty of WildFire left over. So that 2 feet that I suggested in the instructions is plenty. Unless you want to go really, really long, right? But for this design today, we're going to keep it nice and short. All right, got to come back up, guys. Sorry, I'll come back down when is necessary. Okay, so we've done this. And in the instructions, I recommend flipping it over like this and tying a knot through here, which is also a perfectly legitimate thing to do. I just did not do that. But you can certainly do that to keep the knot a little bit more hidden in the back. Okay, and oh, that's why. I apologize. There was a reason why I did that in the instructions, but for whatever reason, that didn't happen here. Sometimes this last bead doesn't want to lock into place, and I'm not 100% sure why. But if it doesn't want to lock into place, that's when you can flip the tying station over and lock it into place by going back around and through it one more time. But for whatever reason, I didn't need to do that today. So that's one of those things about instructions, is that sometimes they are very precise, sometimes they're a guideline. This one happened to work without me needing to lock it into place. So that's a win for me for today. All right, so now we're done with the tying station. We can loosen this wing nut here, can loosen this wing nut here, and take everything off and put my tying station to the side. And I'm actually going to reposition my tray so we are nice and horizontal. Okay, so now what I like to do, well, not what I like to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a knot here and a knot here. Okay, just a simple overhand knot, but that's where this guy comes in really handy, to be able to get that knot really tight up against these beads. So let's do the bottom one first. And I tend to keep those 2 pieces of WildFire within my knot. If you feel strongly, you can come in with your cord cutter or with your scissors and snip it off or singe it off beforehand. But I like just that extra little bit of security. So I am going to go ahead and tie an overhand knot with all of those. So I've got 2 pieces of B-Lon and 2 pieces of WildFire in there. And I'm going to use the all of my knotting tool. I think I'm going to use the all of my knotting tool. Let's pay attention to what's going on, Meredith. Make sure, there we go. Okay, so I'm just being really careful to make sure that all is going through. And obviously what I did not do, which I should have done, is put my finger up here to make sure that this doesn't slip off as I'm trying to tighten it up. So what happens when you are multitasking so many different things at once. So I'm just working to tighten everything up together the way that the tool works. And again, lots of classes on this. You pull all of these into the center of the tool and push it off. So again, I'll show the other side without using the knotter tool. It's just one of those things, if you have a Beadalon knotter tool, it just makes that knot that much easier to do. Gets it really nice and tight up against that last bead. So let's go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to do a knot, and this time I'm going to use my beading awl to get it nice and tight. So I don't have to worry about really about anything, because this all is making it easy to get my knot up really nice and tight. And I'm going to use my thumbnail to push it into place. Okay. And I can pull on these two also. I just want to make sure that the knot is nice and tight. Okay, so now I can go ahead and I'm going to use my cord cutter just in case anybody doesn't know how this guy works. For any cord cutter that you have, you want to make sure that you don't burn it out. So what do I mean by burning it out? The tendency or the inclination is to hold this button down, because that is what heats up that tip. I don't know if you can see any smoke coming from that tip. Now, my batteries are not quite brand new in this, but you want to heat it up, let it do its cut, and back off of this, of the button. You don't want to keep your fingers on that button, because all that will do is burn out your battery in no time at all. You heat it up, you do your cut, you kind of fiddle a little bit with the button. I taught a class when we first introduced the cord cutter, and everybody was burning out the batteries. I was like, I don't understand why I just put brand new batteries in all of these cord cutters, why none of them are working. But then that's what I realized, is you can't hold this down. You kind of have to hold it down, let it go, hold it down, let it go, hold it down. You'll thank me for that. Okay, so now what we want to do, again, with our scissors, we just want to cut that loop. So there's that loop that was over the screw in the tying station. We just want to cut that. So we have two free threads on this side and two free threads on this side. Okay, so this is my favorite and least favorite part all at the same time. What we are going to do is, again, where does my sample keep disappearing to? Oh, here it is. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to create this twist in the cords, okay? And it is a little fiddly, but once you get it, it's kind of that aha moment, and you won't have any cords that aren't twisted again. So it might be a little bit easier to, well, I don't know if it's easier to see here or not, but you can see these two cords are twisted together. It's not twisted cord, right? It's these two cords separately that are twisted together. So we're going to do that right now. This is always my most nervous part. Okay, I'm going to bop that back up a little bit. Because what we're going to do, and the way that you accomplish that, is you want to twist both of the cords separately in the same direction and allow them to twist together. Okay, so those are the instructions. Let me show you how I accomplish this. So I am twisting the right hand cord between my thumb and my forefinger. And again, it can be a little fiddly. And I'm also going, and I want to make sure that that this part doesn't twist also. I'm also twisting this one. Okay, so we're twisting them both together, and it might help to hold this in your hand as you're doing it. But see how everything is kind of getting a little jacked up here? That's good. You want that to happen. You want to just keep twisting. And it's one of those things that sometimes you just have to do it and figure out the technique that works best for you. But you can see I'm holding things, I'm twisting them. And then what I want to do is, once I think I have them twisted separately, I'm going to allow them to twist together. I'm not really twisting with my left hand. I'm just kind of allowing them to twist together. Okay. And maybe the twist didn't come the way that I wanted it to, right? Maybe I need to pull it apart and kind of coax it a little bit so that my twist goes more the way I want it to. Or maybe it didn't twist enough and I need to start over again at the beginning. That's okay too. And I'm going to take it apart to let you know that that's okay. It's one of those techniques that it's like, oh, is it going to work? And then it does. The key to it is you want to make sure that you are twisting your two cords in the same direction. Okay. So I'm going to just do that from the very beginning so you can see if it doesn't work the first time, it's okay. Just try and try again. So I think holding this in my left hand or my non-dominant hand is good. And I'm twisting, let's see, I'm twisting clockwise or counterclockwise. I'm twisting, I can't tell, but whatever way I'm twisting, I'm twisting away from myself. How's that? And then I'm going to do that same twisting away from myself with the other side. So whatever way you twist, if you twist away from yourself or you twist towards yourself, just make sure that you're twisting the same way on both of those threads. And then when you hold them together and allow them to twist together, because they're going to want to, and hopefully you get a nice twist. And the last step here is to take those two ends and tie an overhand knot. Now, if you want to, you can put a bead here on the end, but that can sometimes get way fiddly. So I'm just going to tie a little overhand knot. And you want to do that pretty close to the ends of your, of your threads. And there are tools, of course, that you can use that will make this twist. I don't have one of those tools. I find that the twisting method with my fingers works just fine. But there are different ways of achieving this goal. You could also, if you wanted to do this design in a little bit of a different way, you could end up with 3 threads and then just braid them. Right? It would be a little bit of a different, if a different technique, I would be more inclined to do it as a macrame design rather than as a ladder stitch, because then that 3rd thread could go right through the beads and then you would have 3 at the end. And I've done that before. I've definitely done either with, sometimes with 5 threads, sometimes with 6. So you can do lots of different variations of the same idea. But in the marketplace, for designs that I have seen with this kind of technique, they do have that twist on the end, and it's not that hard to do. It just takes a little bit of practice, just like a lot of different things. I might have made it look harder than it really is. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that same thing. Let me hold this with my hands. Twisting it away from myself on the one side and twisting it away from myself on the other side. And you could use this to make anklets. You could even use this kind of an adjustable technique to make necklaces. And the necklace that I wear every day actually has an adjustable clasp, like similar to what we're doing here on the back, so that if I want it to be longer or shorter, I can make that happen depending on what I'm wearing. There we go. Sometimes you just need to coax that twist in. Okay, and I want to make sure that it is roughly the same length as my other twist. And I'm just going to tie a little overhand knot. And I don't need a special tool for this. I can just use the ends. They will stop being so fiddly. So it's always a time in class that everything becomes very fiddly. And just want to make sure that that is roughly the same length. Not bad. Okay. So now last step is to make that adjustable clasp, right? So what we need to do is create this little macrame knot to hold those two threads side by side. And I like the dainty look of the two pieces of B-Lon together, but there are so, like I mentioned in the beginning, there's so many different kinds of cords that you can use. Even this nylon kind of cord makes it a little bit more substantial over here. So you could make a much daintier look or a much more substantial look, same technique. So to do this, you want to lay your threads going this way. So we're not going this way, we're going this way. So one knot is pointing toward me and one knot is pointing toward the top. And then I'm going to take one of the, no, sorry, I'm not going to take one of those. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off another piece of B-Lon. I usually have a little scrap laying away someplace or lying around someplace, but I'm going to measure out 6 inches or more. I wouldn't recommend less. And I'm going to do just a couple more inches just to make it easier to see what I'm doing. And again, snipping with my scissors. And just like we did when we first started our bracelet, we're going to come underneath those 2 threads and we are going to tie an overhand knot to cinch everything into place. Okay, so overhand knot, right over left, right? Is that what I did, or did I do left over right? And pull it. And you want to pull it tight enough that everything is nice and snug, but not too tight that it wouldn't be easy, that it's not going to slide, right? So we're making it adjustable. And so just the same thing that we did before, I'm going to tie, I think maybe, how many am I going to tie? I'm going to tie 4 or 6. I'm going to tie 6 square macrame knots. If you want to do 4, I'll allow it. So, and this can get a little fiddly, okay? Don't allow it to be fiddly. All we need to do is just like we did in the very beginning. I'm making my loop over here. Right, I got to come much closer, guys. I'm sorry if I'm going to bump the camera, but you guys need to be able to see what I'm doing. I'm going to pull this underneath everything. And again, it's one of those things that sometimes can be harder to show than it is to do. And pull that, cinch it up nice and tight. And sometimes, and it might be easier for you to do this holding it in place. So I'll show that way also. So I'm going to put my loop on the other side. And again, you always want to go opposite sides, never the same side unless you want a spirally knot, which is another design technique, but not what I recommend for this particular way of doing. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do my knot over here. And if you want more knots for a design technique, then that's great too. I have done this with 20 knots. But I don't recommend doing any less than 4. Well, I'll make the statement. I'll say I don't recommend doing less than 6 because you want it to be secure. And let's get that back into frame. This is the twister portion of class where I'm all wrapped around my camera so that everyone can see what's going on. And one last knot here through the center. And pull that nice and tight. And if I lose count, it's not the end of the world if if my knots aren't even, but you can always come here and count your bumps to know how many knots you've done. So I've got 1, 2, 3 knots here, or bumps here, 1, 2, 3 bumps here. So that's 6 knots. Okay, I gotta pull this back up a little bit. I'm so sorry. So this is where the cord cutter comes in really handy, because what the cord cutter does is it not only trims the ends, but it seals them as well. So if you don't have a cord cutter and you use scissors, I would recommend taking just a little bit of a little bit of heat from a flame, or a little dab of glue, just a little dab of glue, because you don't want to use so much that it seeps through and makes your sliding clasp impossible to slide. But just very gently, you come here and just singe this, and it melts it to itself. Okay, I'm going to show that again on the other side. I'm also going to hit the camera a whole bunch of times. Apologies for that. Like I said, it's one of the unfortunately the perils of actually being able to see. And again, this is the cord cutter. There is a similar tool in Michaels that is not the WildFire cord cutter from Beadalon, and it works the same way. Basically what it is, and safety first, is it heats up this little tip right here. My batteries are a little low, so usually this tip gets red hot, but you don't, you want to be really careful, that it doesn't, that you don't burn your hands, but also you don't want to overheat it and burn out the batteries or burn what you're doing. So now the last step here is just to trim my ends and show how it works. And before, when you're done, you just want to make sure that you're ending with that your knots are even enough. The beginning part with an overhand knot is what starts those square knots. So it's just the first part of the square knots is what I'm calling an overhand knot. So I'm not, maybe overhand knot is probably the wrong word for it. You want to start with half of the square knot. And let's hope that I made this large enough to fit over my wrist, and indeed I did. And just like in the beginning, how I showed that this goes on is by sliding. This is the magic part. By sliding, and you hold it either with your pinky, your ring finger, or your middle finger to tighten it up. And so now I have 3 bracelets, where before I only had 2. So again, if you want to make it a little bit bigger for a larger size wrist, you can go ahead and make that beginning thread and that ending thread a little bit longer. And you can make this piece, this part, even longer as well. You can make that up to however long. See how over here, there's only this little bit of space between the clasp and the beads, but here I have a great big space between the thread and the beads. So technique, adjustable sliding bracelet, opportunities for changing it and modifying it and making a ton of different designs with this technique. There are very many different ways that you can change and adjust this technique. Lastly, you can, just as a very quick last, you can do this with the cords this way and the knot this way. And so the knot slides up and down like this. So that is how I have it done on the necklace that I wear. So, whew, we did it. It's longer than I thought it was going to be, but I think we're ready to take that up camera so that I can say goodbye to all of my beady friends. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for this class today. So like I said, it's one of my favorite designs, and whenever I'm making a quick gift as a thank you for someone, or for just for a little bit of appreciation, I make these adjustable sliding clasp bracelets for my son's teachers a lot, for teacher appreciation, or for end of the year gifts. Always well appreciated, because you don't have to worry about having a clasp or the right clasp. You don't have to worry about sizing it for the person, because if a little bit here, a little bit there, it's perfect. And you don't have to worry about, what's the third thing you don't have to worry about? Clasp, sizing it. I don't know. Those are the two things that you don't have to worry about. But again, thanks everybody so much for participating with me today. We have a lot of Michael's classes coming up in the next couple of months, both that I am teaching and Sarah Lovecraft will be teaching. 2:00 p.m. Eastern time is our standard time on Wednesdays. And Sarah also teaches many times on Saturdays as well. So look for those classes as well as all of the other classes from the Michael's Community Classroom. In addition, be sure to go back and watch on the Michael's YouTube channel and see all the amazing things that they have posted in the past. If you do make this project, please go ahead and post it on your socials. Use the hashtag Make It With Michaels. Also use the hashtag Beadalon. And if you want to hang out with me again over on my Instagram, I'd love to follow you, follow me, and follow you back. I am at Meredith Joy Designs, and be sure to follow Beadalon as well, because we post great content, lots of really helpful information, and I'm always looking for ideas for classes too. So if there's something in particular that I haven't covered yet or haven't put on the docket, let me know if there's something specific that you want to learn, because I would love to incorporate that into a future class. So again, thanks everybody so very much for participating today. Can't wait to see what you make. And until next time, happy beading.